Imagine this. Your enemies don't just want you out of the race. They don't just want to see you stumble, to watch you lose your crown. No, what they want is darker. They want you erased, forgotten, wiped clean from the world, like you never even existed. And to do it, they hand your name to something inhuman, not a soldier, not a mercenary, not even a killer you could reason with. They choose a shadow, a phantom who never misses, who never hesitates, who slips through the night like death itself. In their arrogance, they believe they've played the perfect hand. They put a sword in his grip, a gleaming symbol of power, of certainty. And they wait for the story to end. But here's the fatal mistake. They gave him the sword, while all along you've been holding the knife. A sword shines, it's loud, it seeks the crowd, the glory. But a knife is quiet, patient, precise. It cuts deeper, it never misses. They think they're playing chess. 3 moves ahead, all the pieces neat and calculated. But you're not on their board. You're not playing their game. You're playing something far older, far wilder. A game where you bend the rules, where chaos is your ally, and where the storm doesn't just come for you, it comes from you. So the question is, are you ready to flip the board? The shadowed beginning, the plot against you. Imagine this, not just rivals, not just competitors, enemies. And these enemies don't settle for pushing you aside. They don't settle for cutting you out of the spotlight, for stealing your chance, for leaving you humiliated. No, they want obliteration. They want your name erased, your story burned, your very existence cut out of the world, as if you never walked it. And so they go searching for the darkest solution they can buy. They don't choose a soldier, not a mercenary, not even an ordinary killer. They choose a shadow. A phantom with no record, no past, no conscience. A figure whispered about in taverns and war rooms, the kind of being who slips into your room as you sleep, and you never wake up again. That's who they hand your name to, and with it, they give him a sword, a shining noble blade, symbol of power, symbol of certainty. They believe it's checkmate. They believe the game is over. But here's where the irony cuts sharper than steel. They handed him a sword, while all along you've been holding the knife. A sword gleams, a sword boasts, a sword screams, "Look at me." But a knife whispers. A knife doesn't announce itself. It waits. It cuts deeper, closer, quieter. They think they're playing chess, calculating 3 moves ahead, every piece neat, predictable. But you're not playing chess. You're not even on the same board. You're playing something older, something raw, something with no rules but one: survival. And in that game, they have no chance. The storm awakens, the revelation of power. They thought they had summoned destruction for you, that their shadow would be the storm that ended your story. But the cruel joke? You are the storm. Not a drizzle, not a gust, a tempest, a hurricane, a firestorm that doesn't ask permission. You don't knock on doors, you rip them from their hinges. Look at yourself. The scars across your skin aren't weakness, they're armor. Every cut, every wound, every bruise is proof that you've walked through fire before and came out harder. And your eyes? They don't flicker like someone barely holding on. They blaze like an inferno that eats forests alive. An unrelenting fire that consumes everything it touches. So when the shadow steps forward expecting trembling, what does he see? Not fear, not submission. He sees chaos. He sees inevitability. He sees the one thing even monsters dread, someone who refuses to die. And that's when the roles reverse. He thought he was the hunter, but suddenly the ground shifts, and he realizes the truth. You are the predator, a beast unchained, a storm unbridled, a knife already pressed against his throat before he even lifted his sword. The fatal error, the collapse of their plan. Here's their great miscalculation. They thought the board was theirs. They thought you'd be another name crossed out, another story silenced. But what they didn't see was how you were forged. They didn't see the long nights you stayed awake, sharpening yourself in the dark. They didn't hear the quiet tears that turned into steel in your chest. They didn't feel the weight of the betrayals that hammered you into something unbreakable. They thought pain would destroy you. Instead, it trained you. That's the knife. The sword they gave their killer is flashy, loud, arrogant, a weapon for the crowd. But your knife is personal. It doesn't swing wide, it doesn't miss. It slips close, and it leaves wounds that never heal. And with every attempt they made to bury you, the knife grew sharper. Every shove into the dirt only gave you another edge. Every insult, every doubt, every betrayal, they all became steel. Now imagine their faces as they realize this. They planned for your weakness, but you've built an empire of strength from the very ashes they left you in. They thought you'd crumble. Instead, you tower. And suddenly, it isn't you who's afraid in the dark. It's them. Becoming the Joker, spirit beyond defeat. But this isn't just about power. Power alone doesn't scare them. It's your spirit that terrifies them. You've become something they can't calculate, can't predict, can't even comprehend. You've become the one who laughs at pain. Like the Joker, you've turned the fire into your stage. You've turned agony into a punchline. You've learned that when the world burns around you, you don't just endure, you dance in the flames. That laugh, it's not madness, it's freedom. Because once you learn to smile through the fire, once you find joy in chaos, what can they possibly do to you? What threat could scare someone who treats suffering like a song? They can send more demons. They can spin darker plots. But every scheme shatters against the wall of your spirit. Because you don't just survive, you ascend. You don't just resist, you rewrite the whole damn script. Every scar is no longer shame, it's your metal. Every betrayal is no longer poison, it's fuel. Every fall is no longer defeat, it's the spring that launches you higher. And when you laugh, truly laugh, they understand the one thing they feared most. You can't be broken. Rise, the call to action. So now, here's where it all comes together. Their assassin stares into your eyes and doesn't see a victim. He sees a lion. He sees a storm. He sees the nightmare that keeps hunters awake at night. They can't erase you. They can't silence you. Because the power they fear isn't the blade in your hand. It's the fire in your soul. So rise. Not because they told you to. Not because you were ordered to. Rise because the storm inside you refuses to stay chained. Be the chaos they can't control. Be the fire they can't extinguish. Be the knife that cuts deeper than their shallow swords ever could. And laugh while you do it. Laugh like the Joker. Because sometimes the deadliest weapon isn't steel or flame. It's the smile of someone who refuses to bow. The closing and the invitation. If this message hit you, if it stirred that storm inside you, don't keep it silent. Type Joker in the comments. Let the world see that you're still standing, still laughing, still alive. Subscribe, share, spread the fire. because someone out there tonight needs to hear this too. And remember this, the game, it hasn't ended. It's only begun. And if they thought the storm was terrifying now, wait until they see what happens when Batman shows up.